Kamala Harris has no taste in men, like really, really bad taste in men. This Dougie that she took up with, oh boy, oh boy. So Doug Emhoff, who's potentially going to be the first gentleman. Yeah. There's a new story out about him. Now, I have not sourced this. This is courtesy of the Daily Mail. New York Post is reporting on it. But what I find really amazing is that no one in the mainstream media is reporting this at all. No one. And I'm just thinking, if the tables were reversed and it was Donald Trump who had, quote, forcefully slapped an ex-girlfriend for flirting with another man in a boozed fuel assault after a date to a star-studded gala, that's the headline in the Daily Mail. Can you imagine? I mean, that would be leading ABC World News Tonight. They'd love it. And yet, this is nowhere. So, according to the accusation here, 3 friends of the ex-girlfriend came forward. They will not reveal their names. So I never love stories like that, just on background. Like me as a journalist, I don't necessarily love it. But I'm struck by the fact that no one is reporting this outside of some members of the conservative media. Because I know if the tables were turned, they would be blasting this thing 24/7 on the very liberal cable networks. Here's what I am going to say. Regardless of that story, Dougie's not such a great guy. And I know that because he left his wife of many years, whom he had children with, to take up with their nanny. And she was allegedly impregnated. I mean, wow, right? Like, this is bad. And Kamala marries him. And Kamala dated Willie Brown. Have I told you my Willie Brown story? I used to live in the same building in San Francisco that Willie Brown lived in. And one night I got a call because I had parked in one of Willie Brown's spots. He had 2. And our apartment came with 1 spot. And for some reason, we had like 2 cars at the time. And so the door person's like, you can go put your car there. No problem. And I get a call maybe around 7, 8 o'clock at night saying, oh, Trish, you have to move your car. You have to move your car. And I'm like, but I thought you said that Willie only, he just needed 1 spot and that we could take this one for the night. Oh, no. He has his lady friends that come in the middle of the night and they need the parking spot. Okay. This may have been before Kamala was involved, but my point being, this guy was married at the time, but he had his lady friends coming in. And I guess he was married at the time that Kamala also took up with him. So I'm just saying, she doesn't have very good taste in men. Thank you very much. And the media seems to not recognize any of this. They're like celebrating her lousy taste in men, and then elevating the guy that she took up with, who clearly is not a good guy. I mean, we'll leave aside the star-studded gala and whether or not he slapped the woman. I mean, horrible stuff. I don't even like to talk about it. We'll leave that aside and just go with the fact that he left his wife of how many years while his kids were still relatively young because he had a thing with the nanny? And Jen Psaki, who herself must not have much taste in men, is celebrating the guy like he's some kind of god because he's married to Kamala?
Important part, or an interesting part of how people have talked about your role here is how your role has reshaped the perception of masculinity. And I'm not sure you planned on that, but you are an incredibly supportive spouse. Has that been an evolution for you? And do you think that's part of the role you might play as first gentleman?
It's funny. I've started to think a lot about this. I've always been like this. My dad was like this. And to me, it's the...
Okay. Come on, Jen. Can't we hold men to a higher standard than that? I'm sorry. Like, this guy is nothing, all right? He ran off on his wife and then somehow is riding Kamala's coattails all the way to the White House and possibly the presidency. I'm sorry, Dougie, you are not someone who we want to hold up as a model to any man. You are not the kind of woman that any woman should want to marry. I still feel bad for the ex, for goodness sakes. Ugh. Okay. That was a little bit of a transgression.